What's up? It's your boy Jalen back at again with another voice recording. And in this voice recording, we're going to be talking about a little snippet of Julius Evolian that I've read and how I think it may correspond to a lot of other stuff that I've read in the past, right? Surprisingly, Crowley factors into this too, but we'll talk about it. So, of course, Avila has this quadripartite explanation of castes in history, that we have a spiritual element, a warrior element, an economic element, and then an element of the masses, and that the most highest element is that of the spiritual element. Excuse me. In his Metaphysics of Power, he goes over how this spiritual element manifests within the state. And it manifests within the state through, well, let's go over how it manifests within the individual. The individual has an I that commands, and he has an I that obeys. For most people that are into metaphysics or the occult or the esoteric, the most, I guess you can say, agreed upon way to understand this would be the higher self and the normal personality, or you could say the true will acting on the normal personality. There is an I that commands, a higher self or a true will that may have you, that is of a superior power and gives an influence or an operation upon the lesser personality, which is the common personality, the ego, the I that we experience on a day-to-day basis. With the society or the state, the ideal society or the state when it comes to Evola is that the state offers a way to contain both of these I's. Through participating in the state, the individual is within a system where there are a whole bunch of different outlets for him to go about the process of obedience. But there's also many different outlets for him to go about the process of action and commanding. So pretty much within the state, he sees institutions analogous to his higher I, and through acting upon these institutions, he is undergoing the process of his lower I. So he's experiencing his higher I and his lower I through the state and not just through his individual everyday life. A common example of this would be what you would term as vocation, right? A craftsman for the state would craft for the state not because he has to or not because it's the vocation at that time that's the most economically stable, but because the vocation is something that he is called to do, and he is going about it because the state is offering that vocation as a way for him to go about his true will, right? And through practicing it, he's pretty much one with himself through practicing his vocation. It's not based upon what the masses need, or based upon, again, this economics, or based even upon the warrior element of blood. Maybe like the society just says, like his clan is made to be craftsmen, so he has to be a craftsman. That's not really what this is about. This is about a higher calling, and he feels that this higher calling has to be manifested, and he sees that within the state itself there is a pathway and an outlet for it to be manifested, right? So that's really what we're talking about here, is the idea of personality, what our individual personalities are, being a driving force behind what we have to do for the state. The state isn't forcing anything on us. We have a calling to do this regardless, just based off our own will. Now, within our everyday society, within our current society, we don't really have this. Of course, we live in an economic society. We also live in a society that is drawing near towards a society of the masses. We undergo vocations because they are the most economically stable and the most economically advantageous. Okay, we don't undergo vocations because they're of the goodness of our heart. Take me, for example. I'm undergoing a vocation that's of the goodness of my heart and that I feel that I'm called to do and that I feel that the universe wants me to do, that I feel that the potentialities inside me are forcing me to do, not forcing in a bad way, but forcing me in a good way because, again, it's my calling. However, I'm still being punished for it because it's not the most economically stable. Yet, due to my personality, I feel that I have to do it anyways. I don't really care that much that it's not the most economically stable job being within the mental health profession. But that's really what we live in. There's a whole lot of people that, might be lawyers or something, or might be doctors or this, that, and the third. And you see all the time where, they're lawyers and they're doctors to make the money, but their side hustle on the side is really what they're most happy about. Or, they might find their true happiness in their 60s when they retire. And, that might be what they feel is happiness for them. But in the society that Evola is talking about, or I guess the society that I'm hoping for, the happiness is felt throughout the career of the individual. The career of the individual is the happiness, is the calling in itself. And there's an outlet within the state for this individual to do this. Vocations are not, dictated by this necessity of, what does good for the most amount of people. The vocation is based upon, okay, what good or how can this help elevate and transcend, the being of the state, regardless of if a lot of people might be left behind. And that sounds kind of cruel, but vice versa, if we were to apply a vice versa principle, then it would be to the detriment of those personalities that could transcend the state. If we have an ethics of the masses within the state, then an ethics of the masses within the state will lead it to where exemplary individuals are punished. So it's essentially a vice versa. But the thing with the latter, this vice versa, is that an ethics of the masses within the state can't really create a state that is exemplary and transcendent, because commonality and things of that nature, mediocrity, that's really prized. Because everybody can do it, but a very few people can actually manifest exceptionalness, and can manifest excellence. You know what I'm saying? So that's really the crux of that issue. Now, again, with Crowley, we talked about the higher will, and, Crowley talks about this eon of Horus that is coming about, that's transitioning from Osiris into Horus, where in the past we had Osirian principles of Father, principles of the collective government being the all and all be all. But now we're starting to see the dissolution of that, and we're starting to see that in order to really pick humanity up by the bootstraps, we need great people. We need people that can really help better others, lead by example, or inspire others, do those sorts of things. And that's what the Eon of Horus is all about. Horus is the deity within the Egyptian pantheon that had to figure out ways to, do everything by himself, and had to become a god despite, losing everything. And we're in that position now. We're in that position of Horus where we've lost everything, but we have to figure out a way to create anew, going back to that modernity that I've been talking about in previous recordings. So, being able to combine all that sort of stuff, manifesting higher principles, finding people that are able to be avatars and heralds for higher principles that we wish to have in our society, finding leaders that are able to, do that sorts of stuff, and being able to, wholeheartedly follow those people and trust those people. That is what our society really needs. You know what I'm saying? That's what our society is really going to be heading towards. But besides that, that's really Evola's idea of the state, my idea of the state, how I think the state could really counter what is going on within it, in regards to the masses and all that. Anyways, that's all I needed to say. This is Jalen, signing out. Peace.